wearing my travel jacket today. This jacket has been around the world with me. It's fucked women in toilets in restaurants. It's been in bar fights in the USA. It's been dragged through the dirt. It's been in clubs in Medellin, Colombia. It's been on motorbikes through the jungle in Thailand. And it's the correct jacket to wear for today's episode, because today on the New Elite podcast, I want to talk about how changing your environment can change your life. How I changed my environment nearly 4 years ago now and never turned back to the life I had before. So let me begin on this guide to travel, adventure, and changing your life. I left the UK in search of something more, coming up on 4 years ago now, about 3.75 years ago, approximately. And I left, as many as you know, on a one-way ticket to Thailand to have the adventure of a lifetime. Since then, I've never returned to live in the UK again. I left on a one-way ticket, and I'm now still living that adventure to this day, currently in Dubai. And in between, I've lived in Thailand and Dubai. I've traveled to Japan, Vietnam, Colombia, the USA, Spain, France, Poland, various different places around the world. I've achieved some of my wildest dreams. I've traveled first class, business class, private planes. I've been and stayed at the most luxurious hotels and villas around the world, all because I decided originally, when I had nothing, to change my environment. But changing your environment might just be the thing you need to change your life. And this all begins with step number one. Step number one for me, and step number one for you, is to do something that's scary, crazy, exciting, something that lights you up inside. So for me, the idea of Thailand, for the type of person I was absolutely wild. For someone that's in their 9 to 5, has a girlfriend, has an apartment, has their life kind of sorted out, to leave all of that behind and go to a foreign country where you don't speak the language, you've never been there, and you don't know a single soul, is the kind of craziness and adventure that I personally live for. That's what I'm all about, man. Because it's in those times where you become a new person, where you get a chance to completely reinvent who you are. And you get so many new experiences that you just level up so much faster than someone who remains the same or in the same environment. You get so much more life experience. So why did I choose Thailand? I watched a movie called The Beach with Leonardo DiCaprio and thought that Thailand looked fucking awesome. And I was a massive Leonardo DiCaprio fan. So that was one reason. Second reason, I started looking online and comparing the rent I was paying in the UK to the rent and places I could get in Thailand. And I was looking around COVID time. When I first arrived in Thailand, I had to do a quarantine in the airport hotel for 48 hours. So everything was very, very cheap because travel had just opened up. If you did the quarantine and all that sort of stuff, you could just about travel now. But COVID was still kind of in effect. So everything was very, very cheap. And I remember looking online, seeing these villas, seeing these apartments, seeing the sandy beaches, and just thinking, wow, I've got some money saved. I want to start social media. Let's go and fucking go there, because it's going to be so much more exciting for my life and social media than living in the UK. I remember getting on that flight and just playing on repeat the song One Night in Bangkok over and over again. Listen to that song if you haven't already. I think it's by Michael Murray. One night in Bangkok and the world's your oyster. The bars are temples, but the pearls ain't free. You'll find a god in every golden cloister. And you'll be lucky if that god's a she. That song's basically about prostitution in Thailand. It's about the bars being temples. The pearls ain't free. The pearls are the girls. You'll be lucky if she is a girl because of all the lady boys. God, I was fucking getting excited about my adventure. That's for damn sure. And I remember being on that flight, just being shit scared, but really excited to get there. And I arrived and I went alone. And I would recommend you go alone on your adventure. I would recommend you go alone if you want to reinvent yourself. The person that you take with you has a preconceived idea of what you're like and who you are. If you go alone, There is no limit to the person that you can create and become. And that's what this travel and adventure is about. So that's why I went alone, even though it was scary, and I didn't meet up with anybody that I previously knew, because I wanted a new story and I wanted a new life. But I arrived. I did my 48 hours quarantine, and I walked downstairs, and I met these two twins, two French twins, and they were fucking funny. And I think we had a beer together, and they were like, we're going to Koh Samui. Want to come? And they were like, they were just on vacation. They were like 35 or 36 years old. Two twin brothers in business together in the wine trade, the French. They're in the French wine business, luxury wines. And we had a laugh, and I was like, yeah, you know what? All right, I'll go. And they're like, we're going. It was the 28th of December. They were like, we're going for New Year's. You want to come? We've got a table at this place, Scene Beach Club, Koh Samui. I was like, yeah, I got nothing better to do. I was planning on going there anyway. So we got a flight, and they flew over, and then I flew over after them, and I got to the island of Koh Samui, and I booked a hotel online. I didn't know where anything was. So I booked just the most cheap place, and it was in a place called Lamai. For anyone that's been to Koh Samui, you've got like Chaweng, which is the main area, the main strip where you really want to live, or like Chaweng Noi up in the mountains where there's a lot of cool villas. And then there's Lamai, which is a way sleepier town, especially in COVID, like fucking sleepy. And just a little bit more dilapidated, a little bit more run down. Beautiful, nice town. Like, Thailand's very safe. I didn't know this at the time, though, so I was shit scared. I felt like I was in the slums. Anyway, so I get off my flight. It's the middle of the night. These twins are staying somewhere else, too expensive for me to stay. So I go off to this hotel in the dark, somewhere in the jungle. And I arrive at this hotel, Crystal Lamai, I believe it was called. Crystal Hotel Lamai. And I unpacked my bags, and I'm like, fucking hell, I'm on an island now. I'm just on some random island. I better go and find some food. I'm hungry. So I decided to go for a walk down the Lamai strip. And I cannot tell you how scared I was. And looking back, it's so silly because it's ridiculously safe in Thailand. But I was so scared. But it was those experiences that from the very start started to build me and build my confidence. I was scared of a foreign place, and very soon I would no longer be scared of that place. I would start to feel like that place was home. And that was a very interesting feeling. But I walked down the strip. I remember massage girls shouting at me. And I was filming on my iPhone because I knew I wanted to do YouTube. And I was going, oh my God, there's some girls shouting at me. I don't know if they're ladyboys or not. You could tell I was so nervous. I found a pizza place because I didn't want to try any food because I have a nut allergy. There's a lot of nuts in Thailand. I can get into a story about that. I almost died on a first date in Bangkok because of fucking peanuts. But anyway, I got there, had a pizza, had a beer, spoke to a couple people, and I started to relax. And I started to get into it. I was there for a couple of days, and then I met up with the twins again. They invited me out for this New Year's Eve party at Scene Beach Club. And this is where I really started to become a new person. Over those 2 days up until the first, where we were having this New Year's Eve party at Scene Beach Club, I'd been walking down the streets. I'd been going to the gym, finding different places in Thailand and adventuring. And something very strange was happening. Every woman on the side of the road was calling me handsome, calling me sexy, and touching me. And in my head, I think I was 22. Yeah, I was 22 years old or 21 years old. I genuinely thought I'd been misunderstood my entire life, and I was in fact the most handsome person in the world. My ego was inflating faster than you could imagine. My confidence was skyrocketing, which was benefiting all areas of my life because I was like, you fucking idiots back in the UK. You don't know you don't realize what you missed out on. I'm a king here. I'm finally being accepted for who I am. And I genuinely thought that the women on the side of the road thought I was the most handsome boy in the world. That's not true, by the way. I was very heartbroken when I found that out. That they actually say that to everyone, no matter how bad you look. And it actually had nothing to do with the way I looked. They just wanted money. But still, at the time, in my naivete, I enjoyed it. And I started to become more confident. So I went to this beach club. And I'm just hanging out, dancing. I'm at the table with these two lads. And I see this girl. She doesn't look very Thai. She looks like a Thai Latina mix, more maybe Latina. Very sexy in my opinion. A woman that I didn't think I would really have a chance with where I was with my confidence at that time. But I went and said hello anyway. And she was into me. And within 30 minutes, we'd walked off from this party down the beach. And we were in the pool of a 5-star hotel, kissing each other, getting off with each other. Then I got on her motorbike for the first time round after midnight when the fireworks had gone off. And I invited her back to my place. And I got on her motorbike, drove her motorbike, nearly crashed it because I'd never driven a motorbike before. And I took her back to my place in Lamai. It's like 30-minute drive away. And, well, I'm not going to be too graphic with you, but she was a squirter. Let's just put it that, let's just give you that much, all right? And that was the first time I'd experienced that and had a wild time, a real wild time. Felt very comfortable with the girl. Had a wild time. Didn't work out, but it was a fun experience. And for me, that started to shape who I would become. I was like, I was starting to say to myself in my head, I'm fucking best shape of my life. I don't get scared of anything. I'm an adventurer. I'm a stud. I'm super confident. I'm a social media. I'm an influencer. I'm a YouTuber. And that's what I started to redefine myself as from these experiences, from this story. And fuck me, man, I just started to enjoy my life. I just started to feel like I was in a movie, and I'd always wanted to do that. I'd always wanted to feel that way. I'd always wanted my life to be like a movie. I'd always wanted stories to tell. And my God, did I get some stories to tell. Even in just that first month. I remember another time, because I traveled a little bit with these guys. So we were in Koh Samui. Then I flew to Phuket with them, went there. Had my first experience with a... Actually, I'm not going to say. Oh, no, I'll say. I had my first experience with a prostitute. I'd never done a prostitute before. I had my first experience with a brass in that place. Terrible experience. Was that did not like it at all. Was not ideal. Did my first MILF, like proper MILF. It's like 45 years old. Had some wild times. Then I remember flying with them to Koh Phangan and being in the jungle in Koh Phangan with these guys and being offered some ketamine in the jungle. Sniffing a line of ketamine, going into a K-hole and crawling myself into the jungle, laying down in the bushes in the jungle and losing my mind and thinking I was covered in spiders, waking up, going to the toilet. The toilet was a hole in the ground, needing explosive diarrhea, sitting in that hole in the ground having explosive diarrhea with spiders coming under the door that weren't actually there, thinking I was going to die. And then getting a 45-minute taxi out of the middle of the jungle through this rough terrain, trying to keep myself together on the way out of that party. Like I racked up more life experience, more adventure, more life experience, more crazy situations, more time with women than I'd had in my entire life up until that point in a matter of months. And I found that it was that adventure that sparked creativity. I wasn't able to be a mess head and party all the time. I did have my fair share of parties, but in order to get anything done, which brings me on to step 2, you have to lock in. But step 1 was do something crazy. And I did something crazy and it allowed me to unlock a new part of myself. And I went alone because courage leads to creativity. And that's how it all began for me. So there's a few extra stories. I know a few of you messaged me saying you wanted some extra stories from my time. I've got many and I could tell them better. But you'll have to wait for another pod. But step 2, settle down. So I traveled with these brothers. They were on vacation for a month. So I traveled with them. But at this point, I was spending way too much money. I wasn't really making any. And I needed to settle down. So I said goodbye to them. They went back to France. I settled down in Koh Samui. And this is a very important part of your travel and reinventing yourself. I've found time and time again, even with my recent 4 months travel through the USA, through Colombia to Spain, you cannot really grow anything when you are traveling. You can't really grow anything meaningful out of a suitcase or out of a backpack without a base of operations. So you must stay in a place for a minimum of 1 month. That's kind of the absolute bare minimum. Like in the USA, we stayed in Scottsdale, Arizona with a couple guys from the New Elite, the Wiener Bros. We stayed with them for a month, and we did manage to get quite a lot of work done there, and we had a great time as well. But if you're traveling all the time, forget getting any meaningful work done. You need to lock in for a certain amount of time. You need to wake up every day disciplined for your workouts. You need to stay away from alcohol. You need to stay away from drugs. You need to stay away from parties. And you need to lock in and be disciplined in your pursuit of the thing that you want. And that's what I did when I was in Koh Samui. I settled down there. I got a very small apartment. It was $200 or $300 a month. Like a crazy price. And I would just make my own food in there. I would go to the gym, come back. I would make videos on the balcony. I like the healthy lifestyle here. I like driving around on my motorbike. I like this new skill that I picked up. I like this new person I've become. I want to get bigger and more tanned and be a jungle guy and become the CEO of testosterone, which was my fate. And so that builds me on to step 3. You settle down in a place and you build a new identity, and you only train the new people you meet on that new identity. What I'd done when I first arrived in Thailand is I trained these 2 twin brothers on how to treat me based off an old identity that I would fall back on in new scary situations. It's quite an important part. It's taken me a while to understand why I did this. When I looked back into my life, when I went to university, when I went to new scary situations, I always used drugs or alcohol in order to meet new people and settle into a new environment because it would release some of the anxiety I was feeling. I did exactly the same thing when I got to Thailand with these 2 twin brothers. But that led me down if I'd stayed on that path, my adventure would have been over very quickly. Within 2 months, I would have had to come home. So I let them go. They went back to France, and I got a chance to reinvent myself again. And I made sure that when I met people now, I had a few different things that I said. So I met a guy called Bill Clark. He lives in this house to this day. And I met him 3 years ago at a hostel having dinner in Koh Samui. And he was on an adventure as well, trying to build his marketing agency. And I was on a venture trying to become a content creator. And we got on well. And we met at the right time. I told him, I don't drink alcohol. I was lying. I was lying because I'd been sober for probably 2 weeks. But I was true to that word. And Bill said, me neither, man. I'm trying to build something for myself. I'm trying to get away from all these hostel folk. And actually settle down here, to be honest. I'm not really a backpacker. I'm not really traveling. I said, oh, me too, man. Me too. And he was like, oh, cool. We should hang out. And we were like, yeah, all right. So we went gym a few times. And then we found this great location in Koh Samui called Mantra Hotel, which was a hotel you could pay 500 baht, which is about $14. And they would let you use that credit for food there. So you can get chicken and rice and pancakes. I used to have a lot of pancakes. And they would also let you use the office space. It was an amazing deal. And the pool and the gym for like $13. And you spend that $13 on food. So me and Bill found this place, and we would meet there every day, and we'd work on our respective businesses. On YouTube, I would work on YouTube videos, Bill would work on his marketing agency. And we would hang out there. And that was the kind of, you have to teach people how to treat you. You have to decide what new identity you are. If I'd been the person I was when I met the twins, when I met Bill wouldn't have hung out with me. Bill wouldn't have wanted to see me. We would have never formed a business relationship. You attract the things that you accept in your life. You attract the type of women that you are. Everything that you put outwards is what you attract in. So I started to attract a lot of positivity. I started to attract a lot of a higher standard of person. I started to attract people that were on a similar mission to me because of my goals. And I would instantly be able to identify the people I didn't want to hang out with because I knew I didn't want to label myself a certain way. And so me and Bill started working together actually after a while. We realized that his thing wasn't really working on its own. My thing, I couldn't figure out how to turn my content into money. And we started working together Bill would build the back end of my websites and I would do the front end marketing. And we've worked together ever since and had a lot of success doing that. And so when you get to your new place, you can become anyone, decide who you want that anyone to be by writing out who you want to be, who you would be proud of, really. Not who has the most fun, but who you would be proud of. And I don't regret any of my crazy personality. I don't regret any of the crazy things I've done because it gives me stories and it gives me texture. But at the same time, I have to realize that you cannot be a rock star all the time. without doing some of the work. So take that as you will. For me, I would not trade it for the world, the things that I've done, the things I've experienced. I wouldn't trade it. Even though I'd probably be further along, would I? Because I wouldn't have the texture and the stories to draw upon. I wouldn't have the texture as a personality. So I don't know. But anyway, on to step 4. After you've traveled, after you've moved, you must raise your standards and only accept the best. If you travel for the sake of traveling, you will go home at the end. That's what travel normally signifies. I'm traveling, I'm vacationing, I'm going to do something that I wouldn't normally do over here, and then I'm going to go back to the person I was over here. I never viewed travel as that. When I left and it was very intense for people, I was like, I'm moving to Thailand to live there. And they're like, what do you mean? You've never been there before. I was like, I don't care. They're like, you don't know a single person. And I was like, I don't care. They're like, you don't make any money, Jack. You've only got £10,000. I was like, I don't care. I'm going to make it work. I'm going to live in the jungle and eat bananas if it doesn't work. And I'm just going to stay there forever. I'm just going to be a fucking jungle boy. I'm never coming back here. I'm never coming to the UK again unless I become successful. And in my brain, that's just how it was. It's still how it is. It was like, yeah, I just see things as movies, and I just thought that will make a really good movie compared to just this boring life. And so I did that, and I had the mindset always of living there and making a success of myself, and I think that's very important. If you spend your time, if you don't raise your standards to get around the right people, if you don't raise the standards for yourself and what you accept in your life when you travel, if you don't get out of the hostels and find yourself a place to live and start hanging out with the nomads or the guys that are actually making money online doing the thing you want to do, you will end up going back home. So if you want to travel, if you want to change environment to change your life, think in your head that you're changing it for good rather than just to travel. I've seen many guys come and go from Thailand. Many, many guys. None have had the rise that I've had. And I see exactly why, because they come thinking it's a vacation and they don't put the work in. They vacation for 6 months on their savings. They never do any of the work. They never build anything. And then they go home and they go back to their normal lives and their normal jobs, and the dream's over. You can try again. I implore you all to try again. There's no harm in that. I was never worried that if I ran out of money, I didn't mind going home, saving up again, and then trying again. For me, that was the only thing worth doing, because a life trapped was a fate worse than death. And the broke mentality is infectious. You have to get away from them. I hate backpackers. No offense, backpackers. But if you're a broke backpacker, I just will spend zero time with you. I don't like poor people, to be honest with you. That's quite harsh. I don't like a poor mentality. I don't mind people that are flat broke. If you are willing to take some risk and you're a fucking G and you're good vibes and you know you're going to get rich, fair enough. You don't have money yet. But the broke mentality, the scarcity around money is absolutely sickening to me. Hearing people like at the hostel say, oh my God, I bought you 2 beers yesterday, so you owe me 80 baht for 2 beers. Or you can buy me 1 shot of tequila now, and then you only owe me 20 baht. And I just look at them and think, you guys are gay. You're gay and sad, and I never want to be around you again. And then I would leave. Or I would go in the hostel, even with my limited funds, and I'll just buy everyone drinks, because I just thought, I'm going to be rich. There's nothing anyone can do about it. And that's another important part of traveling. Stay away from the brokies, broke mentality, get to the nice hotels, the nice places, even if it's just sitting in the lobby. Surround yourself with wealth. Imagine you're already there. Never view rich people as bad. Never view having money as bad, or it will never come to you. Very important when you're traveling. A lot of the guys at the hotels, at the hostels, look at those rich fuckers over there. Look at them spending their money in the nice hotels, those rich fuckers. How can you ever expect to be a rich fucker if you see being a rich fucker as a bad thing? Your mind won't let you do it. So I would see them and I would admire people. I admire nice things. I admire nice cars. I admire money. I go, wow, look at that fucking hotel they're staying at, man. One day that'll be me. That's awesome. That's possible. I can see that that's possible, and I'm going to do that as well. So there you go. That's step 4. Raise your standards, only accept the best. Step 5 to changing your environment and changing your reality is realizing that nothing lasts forever. That this is a journey, not a destination. Destination Thailand was not it. If I'd stayed there, I would have died. Every man comes to a point where, not literally, maybe literally, but that's not what I'm talking about. Every man comes to a point in his life where he has to make a decision. Will he continue to grow, or will he slowly die? Has he reached his pinnacle? Has he reached his peak and he's ready to stop? Or is there another mountain to climb? And for me, the joy I've realized has always come from just climbing the mountain. I'm not interested with the view at the top. I just like to climb. I'm a monkey. I like climbing. So I did 2 years in Thailand. I moved from Koh Samui. I made a load more money. I moved to Bangkok. Had a big penthouse there and a crazy fucking life. I had a absolutely generational run for about 6 months when I got to Bangkok. My God, I had a hell of a roster. I had a hell of a setup for life. I was a 100% playboy, living the absolute dream. And then I had a good relationship in Bangkok as well. But I realized something, is that for me, I'm obsessed with progress. I'm obsessed with feeling good about how I'm improving and becoming smarter or becoming stronger or challenging myself in a new and uncertain way. I don't actually like the degeneracy. I don't like actually being the winner. I prefer the work of being the underdog. And it took me a while to figure that out. But you have to understand with the travel that nothing lasts forever. Everything's moments in time. Enjoy them. Enjoy every step of the travel. Enjoy every step and realize when its time has died. When you're holding on to something that doesn't exist anymore. And then move on. And for me, that move was to Dubai, to become more serious. I'm still a kid, you can tell from the way I speak, but to move into the world of big business, to move into the world of possibility of, okay, how far could we take this? This was once just a silly little dream, but maybe now it could become something more. And that's what I hold on to in my mind. And that's what keeps me going, that's what makes me happy, is just knowing that this all came from changing my environment, and then I changed my environment again to Dubai, and I'm currently in a period locked in now. Took me a while to get back to this. Fucking hell, I've been a bit of a degenerate over the summer. But I'm now at a period where I'm locked in more than I have been in a long time. I've got my new goal, I'm reinvigorated, and I feel like I did when I locked in for the first time in Koh Samui back in the day. I feel good, I feel strong. And I don't know how long it will last, and I don't know whether my opinions will change, as it's very hard to say. But one thing I will say is I implore every single one of you to travel, to go and live in a new location, whether it be a new city in your home country, purely for the reason that you can reinvent yourself. You can get experiences that shape your view of who you are. You can become a new person, more courageous, richer, better looking. You can fuck better women. You can do whatever you want. You can have better friends in better circles. You can go on better trips. It's all at your fingertips if you just decide to take the risk. And what's the harm? Worst comes to worst, you just end up flying back home, regrouping, going again. So there you go, guys. That's my video. And I'll see you next Thursday for another podcast, or I'll see you on the Raw channel tomorrow for a vid, or on the main channel on Sunday. See you guys soon. Whoop-pow!